Hi gang, this is Mike G from Mr. GTV and MrMikeGarner.com. And how are you experiencing the world today? I got up bright and early. I'm 7 hours ahead of the UK here in Thailand. And I was watching GB News. I was very, very pleased to see a shift in the narrative, particularly on YouTube news channels, which I really encourage you to shift to. Get away from mainstream media, where they have a mainstream agenda which is encouraged by the people who fund it and invest in it and control it to promote the government narrative. Get away from that, go to independence. And on GB News this morning they were talking about how disgusting it was and disgraceful it is that people like Mark Zuckerberg and other movers and shakers who are members of what I would call the cabal, who are this group of people unelected who are so influential in social engineering at the moment, shifting the narrative and driving an agenda that's not being voted for, but it just suits certain elites. And they were saying that Mark Zuckerberg was fact-checking certain pieces of information that restrict freedom of speech. That if you say something which is basically an opinion about anything that goes against the narrative, you'll be deleted, demonized. You could have your living took off you if you are a YouTuber, a social influencer, as I have. Thankfully, YouTube isn't a revenue stream for me, but it is for many. But one thing that YouTube is for me, and Facebook, are communication devices to allow me to connect to people who need my service. And yet, for making empowering statements and helping people overcome the obstacles that stand in the way of the health, happiness and success in life and business, fact checkers, who are basically, as I say, controlling the narrative, have deleted me and restricted my distribution of comment. And how dare they? And maybe you've been subjected to that. Well, how dare they? Well, they can, because we allow it. And GB News this morning was actually pointing out, and I was very, very encouraged to hear it being said, that Zuckerberg has stopped people and deleted people for certain commentary, and yet he's allowed people to say that, in fact, I think Zuckerberg himself has said that he's took a contract out on anybody who kills Putin. He's put a bounty on his head. So you can't have a conversation about transhumanism or about Agenda 21 or about the Jabberwocky, the state injectable, or mask wearing or things like that, and many other things that are a massive shift in our society and need to be discussed. But it's totally okay to put a price on somebody's head. So that's being investigated. Well, thank God, thank Buddha, thank Allah, whoever your prophet is, thank you that that's actually coming out. But it's not coming out, you won't hear that on the BBC or Sky News or CNN, because those news organisations are all funded by the same people. And this is something that you've got to be aware of, that where you get your information from, what's the bias? Who's funding that? I mean, like the World Health Organization or the CDC or a lot of education authorities, a lot of media outlets, a lot of health authorities, a lot of local government councils. Who's funding it? And we're realizing that now as we are trying to control the Russian oligarchs. We've put restrictions in, sanctions to demonize Russia, and that's a story in itself that I won't go there. But just on the point that we're trying to remove funds and resources and access to things in Europe for Russians, it's highlighting the connection, massive connection, particularly with Boris Johnson to Russia, because he was born in Russia, educated in Russia, and a lot of the Conservative Party agenda and decision-making process is all funded by Russia. I wonder why. I mean, you don't have to look far, do you? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, as they say. And I think it's wonderful that all this shit in the world is creating an awakening shift. So I'm, this morning, on the 17th of March 2022, encouraged, and I encourage you to switch off mainstream media or get the headlines and read between the lines and realise that nothing is as clear-cut and straight-laced and black and white as it's being presented. There's lots of grey areas, and if you look at who's funding the agenda, and it's a wonderful expression, isn't it, follow the money, with all the stuff that's going on in the world at the moment, whether it's war, whether it's medical, whether it's social, whether it's gender. Just follow the money. What's the benefit of any agenda that you're being told on the news headlines? Who benefits? Because at the moment, the populations are benefiting, the governments are benefiting, certain corporations are benefiting, people are becoming multi-trillionaires and billionaires, while most of us have suffered massive losses of life, of finances, of our personal circumstances. And it seems at the moment to be moving into a lighter future, but be under no illusion, watch closely. And if you're going to watch closely, as I do, make your own mind up, as I do. Don't listen to me, don't listen to anybody, and you'll get your best information, in my opinion, from independent news sources. And I particularly like Talk Radio, I like GB News, I like LBC, but even those have got agendas. They've all got agendas. But as I say, read between the headlines, follow the money, and just decide for yourself who benefits, and then have a conversation around that. And if you need a chat, I'm here for that. Be powerful, enjoy your mind, have a wonderful day. Things are looking up. The truth is coming out in all sorts of areas: financial, medical, military, educational. These are fascinating times. Be fascinated, don't go into fear. Take care.